Hi guys, it's Lisa Murphy, and I wanted to spend some time with you today. I don't want to call it a rant right out the gate, but it might turn into one. So, one of the things that keeps coming back on my radar, both in conversation and on the road doing workshops, is the craptivities issue. And what do I mean by craptivities? I mean that if you, as a teacher, provider, child care provider, early childhood educator, I'm trying to throw a family child care provider, whatever pre-K teacher, preschool teacher, whatever language that you're using, if you are working with children, young children, and by young, let's clarify, early childhood is birth to age 8. So it always can go above that, but definitely with that. If you are spending a lot of time cutting stuff out for the children to put together and calling it art, it's not. It's not art at all. Um, you spend an hour, right, invested. Now I got to cut this out, and it's for this theme or this activity, or this was on the schedule, so somebody's going to see wanting to know if I'm staying on task, and this is our theme this week, so we got to do. So anyway, so you've had an hour invested. The reality is that it takes children a minute and a half, if anything, to assemble that kind of stuff. And 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 all they really want to do anyway is squeeze the glue, right? You squeeze, 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 and you're counting the glue, getting all like, oh God, $1, $2, $3, and then you're like, thank you, all done. Or you say stuff like, oh, I don't care. They can put the eyes wherever they want. The reality is that you still were the one offering the stuff. So to tell me that you didn't have some kind of an agenda, I don't buy that. I don't buy it at all. The most common bit of feedback, and I can't speak for my other colleagues who are also presenters, but the most common feedback that I receive is, oh well, parents want that. My administration wants it. Parents expect it. Parents want it. And there's a lot of awesome sound bites and clips and memes that talk about how to be effective when you push back and approach that. And I'm gonna level it up and make you maybe a little uncomfortable. A lot of people want a lot of stuff that's not developmentally appropriate. It's not grounded in research. It's not best practice. And the more that we bend over and give them what they claim that they want, we continue. How do I say this somewhat politely? We sit back and we wonder why we're not treated as professionals. We sit back and wonder why we're not treated with respect. And it's because we send fragmented messages to our client base, to our consumers, as to what best practice actually looks like. If we have one child care center and one classroom is doing it this way and one classroom is doing it that way and another classroom is doing it that way, you send very, very, very mixed signals. You send inconsistent messages as to what best practice actually looks like. And okay, breathe, everybody breathe. And we need to stop that. So to come back to the argument or the pushback of like, oh, that's what the parents want. I'm going to straight up ask you, who's the professional? Who? There is absolutely nothing wrong with owning the fact that many of you watching this are professionals, or claim to be, in the field of early childhood education. That's okay. Your clients, your parent base are professionals in their association or their whatever it is that they do, their job, their employment. We don't march into their offices and tell them how to do their job. And I'm not giving you permission in any way, manner, shape, or form to be rude or disrespectful or snarky, but I am giving you permission to step back for a quick second and reflect on the fact that if you want to be treated like a professional, you need to act like one. And that means you have your fingers on the pulse of the articles and the research that is supporting what you claim to believe in. And if you're not doing that, you're going to have a very wishy-washy, willy-nilly program that is just catering to the desires of somebody who walks in the door, with all due respect, doesn't have training in child development, doesn't know ages and stages, isn't familiar with perhaps what developmentally appropriate practice means or what the idea of best practice actually means. That's on you. That's on me. that's on us, right? I think so. And I think it's about time that we come to grips with the fact that out of one side of our mouths, we're saying that we're wanting something, but often our behavior is getting us further away from supposedly what we claim that we want, i.e., being treated like a professional. If you are doing craptivities, if you set a timer and tell children when they are done with something and they have to move on, if you are forcing children to come sit on a carpet while you push the Days of the Week song down their throat, while you make them recite mindlessly, the alphabet song or the Days of the Week song, if you make them count for no reason the numbers on the calendar when the only thing they care about on a calendar is their birthday, we need to have a chat, because none of that is play. None of that is best practice. And none of that, we call it the mug jug theory, right? I'm the adult, I'm the teacher, I got to play teacher. And I think if we're honest with ourselves, that's what we find ourselves doing is, by golly, I have a frickin' master's degree. And the only time I get to feel like I get to use what I learn is during circle time. Well, guess what? I would actually take, I don't like cut and edit this, so I want to be careful of that thought. But if your goal is to be teaching, that's not what this age group is about. This age group, all ages, but I'm talking early childhood, this is about relationship. This is about connecting. This is about attachment. This is about eye contact. This is realizing that at some place deep in your soul, you need to believe that this, with the children in front of you, is way more important than staying on schedule, than executing your curriculum. That is all secondary. But the parents want it. The parents want it. And okay, great. I'm glad you want it, but it's not best practice. You don't march into the doctor's office, right, and say, hello, I would like for you to take out my child's appendix. The doctor will be like, what? Well, I want you to do that. I want that to happen. All of the other doctors in town, they're doing this. They're taking out the appendix of the children, and I would like for you to do that as well. The doctor will be like, no, your child doesn't need your appendix. It's not appropriate. I'm not going to just do that because you say you want it. Well, but I am paying you for this service and this is what I'm wanting. So I think you should do it. And, I'll also have you know that, there's a couple other doctors down the street that are offering this service for a little bit cheaper. So maybe I'll just go there because, they're taking out all of the appendices. But, they're doing that and that's what we're wanting. So we think that that's what you should what you should do as well. And I realize that that's a perhaps overdramatic, silly example, but it's the same exact thing. Anybody worth their salt is going to say, I appreciate that this is something that you think that you're wanting. Let's unpack that. Where did that come from? What does that represent to you? And that is on us as teachers and educators and caregivers and early childhood people. We need to have the ability to facilitate discussions like that. I'm reminded of an article that Heather, that early childhood nerd, and I unpacked on her podcast written by our friend Alyssa. And in it, she writes, and I love this, she said, parents as consumers, as clients, they are entitled to their opinion, but they're not always right. The customer isn't always right. And it's not our goal and objective to get all aggressive and be like, yeah, see, I told you. That's not what I'm saying. But I'm saying if you are not familiar with what the core concepts of play-based practice and developmentally appropriate practice, if you don't know what that looks like, you are going to modify, change your program for every single person who walks in the door, who scares you, who intimidates you, who perhaps threatens you, perhaps talks in a big loud voice. And that's not okay. And I find that the more you know and understand about the theory of our profession and what play really is, what it looks like, what it sounds like, when it smells like, when you know that, when you feel that, you develop the ability to get a lot stronger and more confident in saying, sounds like you're looking for this. This is actually what we're doing here. Let's find a place, let's Venn diagram it. Is there room for this to work together? Where did that expectation come from? Maybe they have toured 15 schools in the last 2 weeks and their heads are exploding and they just want to know that some decision has been made, and you're $10 cheaper a week, so I'm going to sign you up here. You still want to try and make sure there's a fit. I appreciate you're frustrated in the looking, and I appreciate that a lot of schools are doing it this way, but that's not developmentally appropriate, and it's not play. And those aren't appropriate expectations to be putting on toddlers and preschoolers and kindergartners at all. I'm going to end by bringing you back to my absolute 3 favorite questions. And if you are familiar with my work, you know already what they are. But I will tell you with all sincerity, they will help guide you while you're on your journey. Seriously, they will. And here they are. What are you doing? And why are you doing it? And who is it for? I'm not looking to shame anybody. I'm not finger pointing at anybody, but I am getting a little frustrated with the amount of poor practice that we are willing to tolerate. What are you doing? Why are you doing it? And who is it for? And honestly, when you ask yourself those questions, if you say to yourself, you know what? I have no idea why I'm doing that, then you are not allowed to continue that behavior until you know why you do it. Why? I will have a philosophical debate with you another time. We can save that. Right now, all I want is intentionality. Do you know why you're doing it? Think about that this summer. Read a couple books, read a couple articles, challenge yourself, push yourself out. Listen to the podcast. Listen to my podcast with Jeff Johnson. Childcare Bar and Grill is ours. Listen to Heather's. There's so many out there. That Early Childhood Nerd is Heather's. Stretch yourself. Start asking yourself some big questions. I know a lot of you listening work all through the summer and you don't feel like you get a break. I get that. If you do, turn the lens inward a little bit. Start thinking, what do I believe in? Why am I doing this? Am I still just going through the motions? Do I have inappropriate expectations? Am I hanging out in a toddler classroom, somehow treating them like incomplete 7-year-olds? We want to recalibrate that. We drift. And I'm looking at the clock here. I wanted this to be a 3-minute rant, but obviously I had a lot more I needed to say. But anyway, thinking, what are you doing? Why are you doing it? And who is it for? Hold yourself accountable to that level of intentionality the next time you walk into a classroom. And if you need me, you know how to find me. I'll put my website and my email down below. Thank you very much for listening to me, and I will see you again. I am Lisa Murphy, the Ooey Gooey Lady, and I will talk to you soon. Thanks. Bye-bye.